Hello, 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 and welcome in to another episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Thank you so much for clicking on the show. I'm your host, Don Kleppen, and I've got lots to talk with you about this week. Got a great guest interview to share with you. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is a show where we try to take a journalistic look at all things cannabis. I'm a broadcaster in Chicago, have been doing news and traffic on the radio for a while now. You can hear me on WGN Radio, 720 AM, Saturday mornings. I do news during House Smarts Radio with Lou Manfredini. I also do news during Home Sweet Home Chicago just after that with David Hochberg and his merry band of characters. And if you listen to any iHeart radio stations in the Midwest, you might hear me doing traffic during the week. That's sort of my day job, and I've been a personal cannabis user for a little over 15 years or so, and I noticed after it was legalized here in Illinois back in 2019 that the conversations really were not evolving with the newly legalized cannabis here. What I mean to say is there were way more stoner jokes, and there was way more understanding widely of the potential harm that cannabis might do. And I'm thinking of the reefer madness propaganda from the 1900s. I'm thinking of all the DARE education. That sort of lingering stigma that was put out, that still very much exists today. And that's a lot more widespread than is any knowledge, seemingly, of the potential benefits, the potential quality of life improvements that cannabis might offer somebody. And so I wanted to start this show in order to help change those conversations the way that I really wanted them to change. And so on this show, I bring to you news articles as well as events coming up. I do that in the Illinois News Joint Wrap, and I talk with experts in the space, people who are starting a business, who have started one, if they created a product or service that's allowing us, the users, to experience cannabis in a new way, or researchers, doctors at universities and elsewhere who are striving to answer these questions we still have about cannabis, what it can do for us, what some of the real risks are, and that kind of thing. And as we normalize cannabis more in society, a better understanding of those is crucial. I also like talking with people who just use cannabis, growers, anybody who has studied it there, and elected officials too, people who are leading these departments in different states that are establishing policy where cannabis is legal, which is going to be the framework for laws in this country relating to cannabis going forward. So that's the kind of stuff that we do on this show. I like to have as much fun as I possibly can. I like to tell you about the different cannabis products that I've been using, experiencing, and how that's been going. And I've got some strains to talk about this week as well. And my guest this week, Legacy Cannabis. I've got a few people from that company, which sort of formed from the I don't want to say the graveyard, but sort of it formed from an older company, and a group sort of wanted to take things in a different direction. So they formed Legacy out of an older, already existing brand, and they want to talk a little about the direction that they're going in, some of the products they have, some of which I've sampled, and I'll tell you about my experiences with those as well. So with that, let's get right into this next episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Here we go.
This is Tommy Chong, and you're listening to the Cannabis Broadcast.
Yeah, that is the theme, which I love, created and composed by my friend Yusu Kim, aka Good Son. Yusu just completed the Chicago Marathon earlier this month, the first marathon he's ever done. Just wanted to send a big shout out to my man, because that's a huge accomplishment, and it's something that people dream about, I think, and not a lot of people really have the willpower and the kind of ability to get through the training to get their body to that point where they can actually run the 26 miles. So good for you. Very impressive, and keep up the great work, my man. All right, let me get in here because I've got my coffee in hand. I'm recording this on Monday morning, October 16th, so happy start of the work week to you. And I wanted to get into the strain that I've been smoking on here. Listeners of the show, if you've heard this before, you may know I am a huge fan of the combination of cannabis and coffee. It is just, there's something about the dance that those two substances do, the caffeine and the cannabis in the system. That's some people refer to it as a hippie speedball. That's totally fine. But just whatever you call it, the kind of energy, the blend of the creative sort of tint that you get from the cannabis and the little boost you get from the caffeine, I'm a big fan of it. So I indulge in this combo whenever I can, and this is a Monday when I can do it. So cheers to you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There we go. That's a nice start to the day. The strain that I am smoking on currently, listener, is Vanilla Cake. This is another FloraCal Farms flower. It's a wonderful hybrid. It smells, when you open the jar, fresh. I got a little bit of a sharp, lemony, and sort of piney scent. It's got a little bit of that foresty to it. Smells fresh. You get that lemony bit from the limonene terpene, which I'm a huge fan of. I really noticed more when I was smoking it, pine on the inhale. You know, you open the jar and you smell it. That's kind of one part of it. But then when you put the flame to the flower and you inhale it, you get a change of that smell and taste. And what I noticed on the inhale is much more of the pine, and then it's earthy on the exhale. Not really dirt, but sort of earthy. You do get sort of just a cool, grounded taste, and I liked that. What I wrote down here, because what I've been doing as I smoke these the first time is I'll write down and check in with myself every 15 or so minutes to try and get some observations down. And the first, I felt it in my head, temples area, a couple of minutes after the first hit here. You kind of feel it in those areas. My thoughts went all over the place. I really didn't have any focus, and it spread to the body, and I found that to be a pleasant buzz. Again, 10 to 15 minutes in now, definitely felt stoned, feeling it really behind the eyes. That was where I kind of got to about 10, 15 minutes in. Nothing unpleasant, but as I said, my thoughts were all over, and I definitely felt stoned. 30 minutes in, I made the decision to meditate. Now, you may have feelings about meditation one way or the other. I've talked about it on the show before. I think as much as cannabis needs a rebrand, I think meditation needs a rebrand as well. People do it different ways. What I like to do is I have this app, which is free, called Insight Timer. And they have guided meditations, and then they have unguided. You can basically create like a little bed of music. You can throw on some wind chimes, and I have like a little babbling brook going, kind of like a river with some bird sounds and the wind chimes there. So that'll go for 10 minutes. And I just put on some headphones, or I put the phone down, and that noise, that ambiance is just going, and I close my eyes. I sit cross-legged, usually outside or by a window if I can't go outside, and then I just sit there and I keep my eyes closed and I try and focus on my breath. Inhale, and you just think that you're inhaling, and you exhale. And if you want to count during each breath, you can do that. But the whole goal of it, and I think this is kind of where the misinterpretations come and the miscommunications, the whole goal of it is to focus on your breath and clear your mind. Thoughts are going to come. Okay, we all have thoughts that come unbidden into our minds all day, every day, right? Like that's sort of our, as some people refer to it, the lizard brain. It's kind of the stem that's just, our evolutionary brain that's just throwing input based on everything that's coming into our senses. All of that sensory input is being processed by our brain all the time. So the simple act of closing your eyes and putting a sound bed there to occupy your ears, you are controlling the audio and the visual input that's coming into you. And if you go outside, as I said, you can kind of use the fresh air to help with smell and all of that. So you're establishing a baseline for your senses, and then the goal is to, when the thoughts come in, you acknowledge them, and you try and put them aside. Sometimes that takes a while. There are times I get lost on a train of thought while meditating, and a minute or two passes by. I don't really know, but all I know is that I realize that I've been stuck on that train of thought for God knows how long. Then I actively try and put it aside. I focus on my breath again, and I go back to just counting and trying to keep the clear mind until the next thought comes. You want to think of it as like exercising, and you're flexing this muscle which clears your mind for you. And the more you do it, the stronger that muscle becomes. And then you get to this place where you do it throughout the day without needing to put on your app, without needing to go outside or sit down. You can just close your eyes and take a breath, and you find that your mind clears itself like that, and you're just in a much better place sort of immediately. Went on a little bit of a tangent right there. Excuse me, please. But anyway, I meditated about 30 minutes in to this session with vanilla cake, okay? And I just wrote down, wow, my mood was much improved. I was feeling more grateful. I had pleasant thoughts of my family, my friends, my wife. I just felt very good overall after that meditative session. I also wrote down that I was noticing the stoned feeling a lot more after that. I noticed it more in my body, which, as I said, kind of had a pleasant buzz. I felt as I do from time to time with meditating, but it was much more pronounced with this vanilla cake. I felt a pleasant, I don't want to call it emptiness. I don't want to say that, my head was empty, but I think of it kind of as like when you wipe your windshield, after the rain or as the rain is coming down. You're driving through and you're on the highway, and that you're if you turn your wipers off, in a minute or two, your windshield is going to be completely covered with water and you can't see through it. And once you flip the wipers on and your windshield is now cleared, it's very pleasing because you're like, oh, now I can see, and I need to because I'm driving. So it's a good thing. That's kind of how I feel after meditating, and it's definitely how I felt after meditating on this vanilla cake. It was as if the windshield of my mind had been wiped, and I was ready and eager to take in more sensory input. My eyes felt rested, my ears felt good, and I was just I felt like my mind was clearer, sharper, ready to go on to the next thing. Even though I was stoned and still feeling pleasantly buzzed in my body, my mind felt sharp post-meditation. And then after that, it was just chilling on the couch. I didn't really write down anything with munchies. I don't recall having an extended or a wider experience with munchies with this vanilla cake, but I recommend it. It was a pleasing high. It was very mellow. It didn't really prevent me from doing anything I wanted to do. I know I talked about jealousy. That was a much heavier indica. Vanilla cake for me was a true hybrid. I really did feel like I felt the indica parts of it, and I felt the pull of the sativa, where I almost felt like going for a walk outside or socializing. I'm pretty sure when my wife did get home, I as I tend to do sometimes, I just launched into a bit of a conversation and had to share what was going on in my head with her. But that was my experience on vanilla cake. If you've tried it, let me know. Reach out, tell me what you thought about it, and if you haven't, head over to your local Sunnyside or wherever and check out, again, this is from FloraCal Farms, which is a Cresco Labs product, and they market them as premium bud, and the 3 strains that I've tried so far, I have no qualms with that. This is premium, and whichever symptoms you're meant to feel from these, you feel them, and it's pronounced. So cheers to the vanilla cake. This is a tasty cake and worth celebrating all the time. Now I'd like to move on to the News Joint Wrap, brought to you by IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Think of it as the joint you can hit for all your Illinois cannabis news and reviews. And let's start with an article by Jason Brown. He wrote this last week, maybe approaching 2 weeks ago now, October 6th, but he points out that Illinois proposed expanded canopy space for craft growers. Now, in May of this year, Illinois Senate created an omnibus with several cannabis-related items that Jason mentions here. That ultimately failed, but one of those items was the addition to licensed craft growers' canopy space. It included increasing the grow space to 14,000 square feet, up from 5,000, which is a big jump. On October 6th, Jason says they proposed a new rule that would request an increase of 3,000, 6,000, or 9,000 square feet of canopy space. So that is something that the General Assembly and then the Illinois General Assembly Joint Committee on Administrative Rules released the new proposed rulemaking amendment along with other criteria and rule changes. Again, this happened October 6th. So basically they said that the Department of Agriculture will approve a craft grower's request for an increase of canopy space based on the following criteria. The market need for additional cannabis production, as indicated by any of the following: Illinois adult use cannabis monthly sales figures, wholesale cannabis sales figures, inventory tracking data, whether the craft grower has sold 50% or more of its packaged product consistently over the previous 2 fiscal quarters, availability of product manufactured within a 3-month window of sale, cost and availability of products used by licensed cannabis infusers, and any other data the IDOA may rely on to evaluate market need. You can read more about this, more details, and if you're interested in expanding your craft grow space, you can check that out at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Another thing of note here, Representative LaShawn Ford has been introducing a few cannabis bills. One of them has to do with consumable hemp licensing, which is pretty exciting. He referred to it in a press release as a comprehensive plan to strictly regulate, license, and tax Delta-8 and other similar intoxicating Delta hemp products. And he announced it because the hemp-derived substances like Delta-8 are legal and loosely regulated under federal law. A strong set of public safety measures to tightly control the Delta hemp industry must be enacted at the state level. There's more information if you're interested about that. He also, though, and this is more in line with what I thought you'd be interested in, Rep. Ford introduces Cannabis Transporting Bill. The new bill, and this is again highlighted by Jason Brown here, it is for cannabis transporting organizations in Illinois. It's House Bill 4164. It would amend the CRTA, the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, and the Administrative Procedure Act, and provide that by January 1st of next year, 2024, the Department of Agriculture shall adopt emergency rules to, quote, begin accepting applications for the conversion of transporting organization licenses to third-party transporting organization licenses. Now, what does this mean? Well, the official word about this, and Jason highlights this in this article, it has to do more with the amount of hours that deliverers, truck delivery between businesses and storage and dispensaries are on the road, those drivers, sometimes for 14 to 16 hours at a time. So that obviously is an ongoing issue, like a lot of truckers, a lot of transporters, they're on the road too much. So the official word with this bill is that it has to do with regulations in terms of that kind of transport. However, and this is where my speculation comes in. This is not in the article. There is no official word on this. This is me editorializing and speculating here. My opinion is that this bill would open the door for delivery to the home of cannabis. Now, for medical patients, that's probably going to take a little bit longer, but for recreational users, this bill, 4164, this may be that first step toward cannabis delivery in Illinois. And that is something I know we've all been waiting for. I certainly have. I've been talking about it on the show. And as I've told you, I knew that this was an inevitability. They expanded in the state alcohol to home delivery during the pandemic, and a lot of those rules have been extended. Those laws continue to this day. And it was obvious to me that it was always only a matter of time until cannabis was added to these lists. Now, does this, allow for a sort of small business? If you're thinking of starting a cannabis delivery operation, it could be. But the way that I see it here in Illinois unfolding is that the large delivery corporations, your DoorDash, your Uber Eats, those kinds, I think they're going to add this to their business model. And ultimately, you'll be able to order cannabis on DoorDash the same way you can order your groceries, fast food, and alcohol right now. And I'm in no way affiliated with any of these companies. And I personally would love it if small businesses for delivery opened up. I do think it's a good entrepreneurial opportunity for anybody who's looking to get into that, but that is just ultimately how I see this shaking out. And this article at IllinoisNewsJoint.com talks about the official on-the-books reasons for the bill, which again have to do kind of with the length of transporting that drivers deal with on the roads, moving cannabis from production facilities to storage warehouses and dispensaries. So that does it for the News Joint Wrap today. Remember, you can find out more about those stories and more about news and events related to cannabis in and around Illinois. All of that at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Listener, welcome back. My guests today, and we're more than doubling up. We are quadrupling up today. This is a very special interview. My first time I'm interviewing 4 different guests, all of whom are employees of a new cannabis company, or rather sort of a reimagining of a classic cannabis company. It's the new Legacy Cannabis in Illinois, and joining us today to talk all about their philosophies and some products you can be excited about are the Sales Manager Ash Grimm, along with the Extraction Manager Nathan Anderson, the Kitchen Manager Thomas Murbach, and we also have along with us Ryan Hedrick, who is the I believe the cannabis master. Let's just say master for now, because I can't find the title in my email. Welcome all 4 of you from Legacy Cannabis. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. And Ryan, what is your title, just so I have it right?
Yeah, I'm actually I go by the Chief Cannabis Officer.
Chief Cannabis Officer. I knew there were 3 C's, and I just couldn't find them in my brain. But that is awesome. So Ash, let me bring you on here. Cannabis in Illinois has been, sort of received differently by different people over the last 3 years since it's been recreationally legalized in 2019. Would you mind just giving the listener some background on Legacy, the company here?
Yeah. So Legacy came about after a split from our previous company. We kind of wanted to make our own path and do things our own way out here. So we brought on Ryan, Ryan can probably give you a better idea on the inner workings of how we came about at the beginning.
Yeah, we saw essentially a giant opening. I don't really like to talk about the split from the former brand or anything along those lines, seeing as how the fact that former brand was run by, essentially a different crew on the back end and at the upper management level of things than are being run right now. So Legacy, our new brand was kind of formed out of the necessity for OGs to still have a place in the current market spot. What you see with a lot of the different MSOs and a lot of the different brands on the markets today are going to be, businessmen suits, if you will, running the cannabis industry without a knowledge of the culture or the back end of what's been taking place for decades before this legality has taken place. So, we'd like to think that the team here in Illinois is a group of legacy operators that have been involved in cannabis in some way, shape, or form before it was, the cool thing to do or the legal thing to do. And that's kind of where, the whole brand concept came into play. And we are doing a reimagining again, I guess, if you will, of an old brand and bringing some new strains and some new genetics to the market to help, launch Illinois more into the cannabis culture than is currently available to the average consumer.
That's great. And yeah, thank you for kind of spelling that out. I think I really love the idea of with just right with the name and with the brand you guys are going for, you're tipping the cap to all the people who have been involved in cannabis since before it became, legalized and really kind of this, cool. Right now it's the green rush and it's kind of the cool space to be, but there were many people who were in this space, as you just said, before it was medically legal, before it was recreationally legal in the state. And I think the name Legacy is really a cool hat tip to all of those people. And on the website, it mentions you guys are creating an elevated experience for connoisseurs by providing exceptional first choice cannabis in each of your product categories. I can see the products on the site. You guys offer flower, vapes, some concentrates, and edibles along with pre-rolls, which, everybody loves a nice, convenient pre-roll. This question will go to you, Nathan, the extraction manager. I'm curious about what Legacy is doing regarding edibles and concentrates, and just sort of what is the philosophy of the company, or what direction are you guys headed in terms of extraction and creating these products for people?
Yes, we pride ourselves on making high quality extracts, terpene rich. We want to really give the essence of the true plant. We really like our live sugar, our live batter, our live sauce. We've gotten into the distillate vapes, and we're coming out with live resin vapes coming in the next couple of weeks. Also today, we are releasing our first Rosin Jam, which I'm really excited for.
Whoa, breaking news,
yeah,
listener.
Yeah.
New products to get excited about. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to make waves to be a big hit for the market here in Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois likes their wet extracts, and that's what I strive on making.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that, now you say like the Rosin Jam, for instance, let's give the listener an idea if somebody hasn't had that before. What is that product, what does that offer in terms of like what's different about it from just smoking regular flower, let's say?
Well, it's a concentrate, obviously, so it's more concentrated, so you need less of it. But the Rosin Jam specifically is a heat-cured technology which makes it shelf stable. So the rosin that we sell out here will be in the exact same form that the customer will receive. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally.
So it's very shelf stable, and that's what I like about it, and I think that's what the market will like about it.
Definitely. I can see, the value of that just from, a storage standpoint, and just, being able to kind of stock it for longer and then being able to provide it for people. That's a hugely important point there. Thomas, you're the kitchen manager. I'm curious too, does that sort of dedication to the quality, does that extend to the edibles that Legacy makes as well?
Oh, yes, definitely. I use the distillate that Nathan makes, very high quality distillate, and we put pride in the flavors. We test them out, make sure it's what I want, go out on the market. Very, very happy with the replies I've gotten back and the feedback, and I just been putting out great gummies.
That's awesome. What are the gummies, would you say, of the edibles that you guys are putting out, are the gummies the most popular right now?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, cool.
Right now, we only have the gummies on the market right now, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
As of right now, just the gummies are on the market.
For sure. Okay, so obviously those are popular then. But are you gonna offer different flavors of gummy going forward? Are you looking at drinks or any other kinds of edible products? Just out of curiosity.
We're looking at a couple different things. I have a couple different ideas on something we can do, but right now we're putting our all into these gummies and make sure they're quality out for the people.
Sure. And
we're doing research on everything else.
Yeah, for sure. And on the gummies, just looking at the site here, what flavor are you offering right now, and what are the dosages for those for people?
Well, right now the dosages are 100 milligram bags, 10 gummies in a bag, so 10 milligrams a gummy, and we have 7 flavors out right now. We got a cotton candy, strawberry, raspberry, a peachsicle, sour blue raspberry, and a sour pink lemonade. And then I got 2 real special ones coming out. It's a hash berry gummy. We're going to make that one with some hash. Really excited for that to hit. And then my favorite, the Mango Nada. I don't know if you know about Mango Nadas, but it's like Mexican candy. Delicious.
Oh, man. I mean, those flavors already, I love the options that you give there. I mean, 7 is a high number. I think there are a lot of, companies out there that are putting out, let's say, edibles, but a lot of the options are pretty limited flavor-wise. The fact that you guys already have 7 options, and let me say, Mango Nada, Hash Berry, and the Cotton Candy, I haven't seen those flavors anywhere, and I've definitely tried my share of gummies, so that is awesome.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're really excited about those.
Yeah, and I believe anybody listening is probably very excited about them as well. This question can kind of go, I suppose, to all of you, but I guess I'm just curious. I'll start with Ash. Illinois' cannabis market. I'm not looking for anybody to drag the state through the mud, but one of the things that's strange about right now is every state is like its own country with cannabis laws. We don't have an interstate commerce. We don't have a federal market of exchange. So every state has a different policies, different ways of doing things. And how has it been for Legacy to as you said, you spun off of a different brand and now you guys are getting up and going. How has the Illinois cannabis market been from your experience where Legacy's journey is concerned?
We've actually been received super well by people of Illinois, which has been great. I think we've done a lot of social media networking, just getting out there, talking to people, trying to be more present at events, and I think that's helped a lot. So our products are moving pretty quickly. I think a lot of the improvements we've started to make are already paying off. The only thing you're always going to have to deal with in Illinois is fighting for shelf space amongst this giant sea of MSOs. But we really have some great dispensary partners who keep us going strong. We like to partner as much as we can with the mom and pops or the small guys who are left in the state who don't maybe have a cultivation center, complement kind of our side of things. So for us, it's actually been a pretty great entry into the market out here.
That's great to hear. And as Ash just mentioned, Legacy is on social media. You can find them on Instagram. I believe it's at LegacyIL. Is that correct?
That is right, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, and you can see some shots of their excellent products there. You can get an idea of kind of some of the behind-the-scenes work, some really cool photos at that Instagram page right now. This question, I guess we'll go back to Ryan. What has your experience been like in terms of, this new brand in Illinois and kind of going up against those MSOs that Ash was just talking about? We know that the way that Illinois kind of rolled out these last 3 years, it kind of helped along some large companies get, some cash flow early and then extend themselves into multiple states. How has it been from your side of things, I guess being in competition with some of those larger companies?
So, it's not my first rodeo. It's not anything that was too new to me. Sorry, I have a newborn here in the background. Give me 1 second.
Oh, no problem at all. And by the way, listener, I was just informed Ryan is a dad. You have a new addition to the family. Is that right?
Yeah. My second child, my daughter Harper Rose, she was born on Friday. So I'm currently at home in Philadelphia playing daddy duty for the next week until I can make it back out to the facility there in Rochelle. So,
well, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, Ryan.
Thanks, guys. But yeah, so it's not anything new to me at this point in time. I've been operating in the space in the cannabis space since early 2012, and dealing. There were no MSOs when I started, so understanding the concept of how the big guys like Cresco, Verano, GTI, Curaleaf, PharmaCann, how all these guys are operating is something that I really feel like I have a strong grasp on, and again, I think that's a big reason that I was brought on to help the team. Is these guys were already operational wizards, but now we need to have the understanding of how to operate and maneuver ourselves in a market that is currently, really the home state to the MSOs. You know what I mean? If you put a home state on the MSO, if you will, it would definitely be Illinois. That's where a lot of these guys have formed and have their headquarters. So it's interesting. But, really a branding is branding. Marketing, especially in the cannabis space right now, whether you're selling actual cannabis products, whether you're selling nutrients, whether you're selling lighting, you're really just a marketing company that happens to have a product that is geared towards cannabis. And what you're seeing nowadays, especially with, brands like Cookies and Jungle Boys and Preferred Gardens, all these individuals, you're starting to see people that are, they're selling cannabis, but what they're really selling is a brand, is a lifestyle, is a status symbol, similar to what you're seeing with Louis Vuitton or with Gucci or any of these other big brands where you're attaching a status symbol that comes with the brand. And I think Illinois is ripe for that. I think right now there's still that transition period from the medical market, which I don't think will ever go away, nor should it ever go away. But there is still there is a big transition in marketing and branding from a medical standpoint to an adult use standpoint. And I still think that Illinois is in that transitional phase. And, when brands like us come onto the market where we work to bring in existing breeders and to work on licensing deals and bring different brands to the table, similar to how the big players are doing it, we're really going to give Illinois the change that I think it needs, and that final push into the cultural element of cannabis and less into the business side. I mean, obviously we all need to make money, we all need to sell our products, but when it comes to the cultural aspect, that's where the MSOs are lacking. And I think it's there's not really competition, if you will, as weird as that sounds. Where I'm sure Ashley would say different as the person selling our product, right? There, she's going to obviously. There's definitely competition. There's people out there, but the way that Legacy looks at things is there's room for everybody, right? There's going to be the king of the $25 eighth, and then there's going to be the person that's still charging $450 for an ounce of flower because it's small batch, homegrown, craft grown type thing, right? So, although there is quote unquote competition, the only competition I really see is the sales that we've done the week before and what we can do to up it from there. I think the MSOs just help boost our brand in the area that we want it boosted. And then in areas where we need to learn, I still think that there's a lot that could be learned on the business side from an MSO. But when it comes to operational standpoints, the team at Legacy is second to none. And I think with the new genetics and the new marketing and the new branding and the new extraction methods and all the stuff that the team is bringing to the table, I think that we'll be able to take on those MSOs head first and not have anything in our way.
Yeah, and very cool. And I totally take your point about the culture element of the business side of it. I've definitely been seeing some more kind of leaning in that direction from some of these, or I guess, smaller startup companies. There seems to be a lot more of the marketing toward that lifestyle that you're talking about, toward the kind of the image, the partying, the kind of culture side of it, aside from the products themselves. And on that note, Ash, I am kind of curious, Ryan was mentioning, the competition from the sales side of it. We talked earlier kind of about the shelf space on Illinois dispensaries. Where are places right now that the listener can find Legacy products? Which stores are you guys available in?
We're actually available in a good majority of the stores around the state, or will be in the very near future. You can find us if you're in Northern Illinois. You can find us Rockford, South Beloit, over in Milan if you're towards the Iowa border. We're down in Quincy. We've got Beyond Hello down in Sauget if you're in the East St. Louis area. If you're all the way down south, we're actually delivering to Metropolis for the first time today. So you guys will have access to our products for the first time as of today. But then, the whole Chicagoland area, of course, is a mecca of dispensaries. And we've got great partnerships with most of them. All Sunnyside stores will have us. Windy City stores will have us in stock. So pretty much anywhere you shop, you can find us right now.
That's fantastic. Yeah, very exciting. So listener, wherever you're at in Illinois, you'll be able to get yourself some of these Legacy products. Definitely try some of these gummies and some of that exciting new Rosin Jam. Sounds like that's definitely something that's going to be worth trying as well. Guys, everybody, thank you so much for joining on. I like to kind of wrap these things up by doing some quick hits questions. And I guess because there's four of us, let me just suggest an order of response here. We can go Ash, Ryan, Nathan, and Thomas, if you guys are game. But I just like to kind of ask your favorite, foods, music, what substances you like. Are you guys game for this?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. Well, let's, number one I start with always is morning bird or night owl. Which are you?
I'd say morning bird.
Oh, man, that's a hard one. Realistically, that's hard. That's a hard one. No, I'm going to say night.
I'm going to go say night owl. I actually lived with my fiance when I was in college, and I miss staying up late and hanging out with her.
Right on.
Wish I could do that still, but I got to get the day going. So.
And then
I'm a night owl as well.
You're a night owl too, Thomas?
Yep. Yes, I am. And the fun happens. During the day, morning time, it's all business.
Sometimes burning it at both ends is sometimes life demands it of you. So I totally understand it both ways. Favorite cuisines or foods you guys like? Now, this can be something that you have regularly, like a comfort food, or if you're celebrating something like you just had a wild month of sales at Legacy and you guys are going out for a celebratory dinner. What's a cuisine or a restaurant that you definitely want to go celebrate with?
I'm all about buffalo wings or Italian food. So pizza and wings is perfect night for me, honestly. It's pretty easy.
If I'm going everyday choice, you can take me out. I'm good with anywhere that's got a good burger. I think that's my go-to. I don't even have to worry about the second one. Take me somewhere with a good burger and I'm set.
Love it.
If I'm celebrating, I'm going to Japanese hibachi, 100%.
Hibachi. Love it. Yes. Yep. Big fan.
Man, I'm going to sound basic, but I really want Chipotle right now. Chipotle with my heart, I swear.
That's a classic, man. Don't mess with the classics. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Chipotle is a solution. I get you. And then, okay, so now I ask, like, substances of choice. We obviously, all of us are fans of cannabis. That can be the answer, but I'm just interested, are you a coffee drinker in the morning? Do you have tea during the day? Any wine or beer or cocktail at nighttime? What's a substance you kind of, help to get you through the day?
I'm a cannabis user through and through, so I really don't drink at all. I do have quite the caffeine addiction, though. I need my, 300 milligram energy drink every morning. You can usually find Ryan and I walking around the facility with those at 7 a.m. So,
man, that's a starter's pistol for the day. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same for me. Definitely a daily, all day cannabis user. Whether it's your morning joint or your day long dabs, whatever's happening there. And then I'm with Ash. You can find us in the morning walking around with our C4s. I think I might be a little bit heavier than her, though. I'm probably closer to a 900 milligram of caffeine by the time the day is over with all of my pre-lift and C4s. But yeah, caffeine and cannabis that's the winning combo, I think.
Right on. I agree.
For sure.
I'd say in the morning, I got to start off with 1 cup of dark roast coffee. I make it myself at home. And then to get through the day, shout out Liquid IV. Put a packet of Liquid IV in my water, and I'm good to go.
Hey. Yeah, I've had that stuff. That's helpful, definitely.
Yeah.
Coffee and water.
Coffee and water.
That's what I'm about.
That's good.
Coffee and water.
That's good stuff. I like that.
Shout out water, but I would put some Liquid IV in it. If you guys haven't tried it, definitely try it.
There we go.
Coffee and water and cannabis all day. I don't really drink too much anymore, so
yeah,
I'm a smoker. I smoke.
I hear that as well. It's funny. It's a good thing. I mean, people always talking about, I think long term alcohol is not, the healthiest for you at all. And it's awesome that cannabis seems to have this, at least it has for me for many years. It kind of definitely took my, the amount that I drink way down. I don't really drink much myself anymore.
Oh yeah.
Which I love.
Good on you.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
and you
awesome.
guys as well. Yeah, water and Liquid IV. I mean, these are healthy responses. Nobody's shooting heroin to get through the day. Nobody's nobody's doing the mushrooms. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Favorite movie or TV shows? What do you guys like to watch? Whether it's a classic that you've seen 100 times, that'll you'll always leave it on if you come across it on the guide, or something that'll just get you in a certain mood if you're looking for it. What do you like to watch?
I'm a sucker for a good crime documentary, for sure. Always watching the new crime documentaries on Netflix. Other than that, I'm still a kid at heart and have an obsession with Scooby-Doo. So pretty much watch Scooby-Doo every night before bed.
True crime and animated crime. I love it. That is that's good.
Yep.
Good combo.
Yep. I've got a tattoo sleeve going with Scooby-Doo right now. So I'm just working on that right now.
Wow. Very, very cool. That's a true fan right there.
Right.
So if you're not catching me watching Moana or Toy Story, which seems to be my go-tos with the 3-year-old as of late. Actually, he's been really into the Lorax. Listen to me, like my movies now are my 3-year-old's movies. Moana, the Lorax. But if I'm putting something on for my my own pleasure and enjoyment, I am indeed from Philadelphia, so It's Always Sunny is.
I knew you would. I knew you did.
Always on my television.
That's a classic.
Yeah, Always Sunny all day long.
I'm not a huge TV watcher, but man, I gotta say, I'm hooked on The Mandalorian. I fell in love with Baby Yoda when it came out, and I'm eagerly awaiting Wednesday's episode.
Yeah,
so,
same.
The Mandalorian.
Grogu is king. That's the way.
Yep, this is the way.
Yes, sir.
I'm with Ryan, man. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, don't get me wrong, there's so many shows I love, but
No, those comedies, man, just leave them on. I'm like that. Always Sunny's great. Arrested Development, I'll throw that on all the time. Just something to burn through the background and just kind of keep the mood light.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
exactly.
And then final quick hit, and thank you all again for jumping through this here. But what do you like to listen to music-wise? If it's at the end of a busy day and you're in your car and just kind of looking for that vibe before you go home, or if maybe you're about to go out for the evening and you're trying to get the mood right, what's music? Either an artist or a genre you like to listen to?
I listen to a lot of rap, some punk and rock too, but I would say the majority of my music it falls in that rap category. Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly, Mac Miller. I listen to a lot of Mac Miller, so kind of falls in that area.
Yeah, I kind of have a rather eclectic taste as well. You can, depending on the day, you could catch me listening to like some good Jamaican reggae, like some Coffee or Ching Ching, Protege. But I also go the harsh opposite. I listen to a lot of metal as well. So some bands like Inventanimate or Era, Volumes, some heavier stuff too. So I swing either way depending on the mood.
There's a producer, electro soul hip hop producer out of Atlanta, Georgia. His name's Rhett Watley. He goes by Daily Bread. I'm obsessed with him right now. He's got a new album out, Invisible Cinema. So for the past week and a half, I've been bumping that in my car on the way home. That's what I like listening to.
Love the specificity. That is right on it. I appreciate that, man.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah, that Invisible Cinema album's really good. Daily Bread's really good. I listen to almost everything. Tend to stay away from country.
Fair.
A lot of this producer by the name of The Trees.
Of the Trees. Okay.
Really good stuff. Yeah.
It's great.
Yes, Of the Trees. Shout out to him.
Great name.
A lot of reggae as well.
Very cool. Well, that's an eclectic mix from all of you, and I fully support eclectic taste in music. I think audio is a powerful thing. It can just transport you to a state of mind instantly, depending on what you're listening to. And the eclectic music tastes is whatever you're feeling like on a given day. It's cool to be able to just tap into one of those, and however you want to feel, you can have that soon. And hey, whatever kind of cannabis products you want to try, Legacy has some really great options for you. As they mentioned, you can find their products at different dispensaries around Illinois, and look out for some of those excellent gummy flavors we talked about, as well as the new Rosin Jam and some of the cool new products that they were talking about. Thank you, Ash Grimm. Thank you, Ryan Hedrick, as well as Nathan Anderson and Thomas Murbach of Legacy Cannabis. Thank you all for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you.
All right, cool. You guys have a great day.
You too.
You too,
Don. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there you have it, listener. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I want to thank my guests from Legacy. Really appreciate them coming by. They're so fun. And I'll tell you, I have tried Legacy's products. I really, really enjoy their jars of joints. Now, I've talked about dog walkers on the show. I've talked about, pre-rolls and their convenience. That is the ultimate thing that pre-rolls as a product have above most other cannabis products. Gummies and some edibles, tinctures. There are other options in terms of convenience, but if you're looking to smoke and you want to have something kind of in your pocket that you can just light up, while you're walking throughout the day, if you find the right spot to do it, you can't beat pre-rolls. And what I love about Legacy's pre-rolls, they have these jars where you can get 10 to 12 real tiny joints, or 5 or 7 or around that number of some larger joints. And I think the price point that Legacy products are at is just right for me. You can find some of their jars $45-$50 for some of those 10-12 joint jars. And me personally, I think that's excellent. And I've bought them several times. I was at one of my buddy's weddings a couple of weeks ago. My friend got married about a month ago at this point. And I bought a jar of these Legacy joints, and I was just, lighting them up, and I had them for the wedding, and I look forward to doing that so much more. It's just something that, again, love the price point. I love the quality of the joints. They're not too tightly rolled. I don't have to mess with them to avoid that, canoeing, the kind of, the sideburn. Some of that's going to happen. It happens with all of the products, but I'm sure you've noticed, like I have, that some pre-rolls are more likely to do that than others. And at least as far as I've noticed so far, Legacy pre-rolls are pretty good. One more article of note that I wanted to bring up to you here, listener. This is from the Marijuana Moment publication. Ben Adlin is the writer, and the headline is "Marijuana consumers who caught COVID had better outcomes and mortality than non-users." This is according to a study. Ben goes on and says cannabis consumers who caught COVID-19 had significantly lower rates of intubation, respiratory failure, and death than people who do not use marijuana. That's according to a new study based on hospital data presented this week at the annual conference of the American College of Chest Physicians in Honolulu. Boy, that's if you can get to Honolulu, that would make a chest conference, I would think, a little more tolerable, I suppose. But anyway, the study goes on and says marijuana users had better outcomes and mortality compared to non-users. The study suggested the observed benefits might result from marijuana's, quote, potential to inhibit viral entry into cells and prevent the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines. The report went on to suggest that the significant decrease in mortality and complications warrants further investigation of the association between marijuana use and COVID-19. Now, I won't go on in this article. If you're interested in it, I will put a link in the show description notes. You can click on it, read it for yourself. I encourage you. I mention Marijuana Moment all the time on the show because they do great work. A lot of exclusive information these days coming out about cannabis comes from Marijuana Moment. So I highly encourage you to check them out, join their newsletter, all of that, because they always have good stuff. But what I want to tell you now is my personal experience. This is anecdotal, take it for what you will. But my personal experience with COVID-19 was this. The first time it came into our house was December of 2021. Gretchen caught it from somewhere, and she had a rough go. For about a week to 10 days, she was feeling some symptoms. She lost her taste and smell, felt, body pain, symptoms that we've all heard and are probably familiar with at this point in time. I stayed here in the same apartment that we share. We didn't make any kind of arrangements for me to get out of here, and we didn't make any special arrangements for me to stay in isolated space from Gretchen. We live in a one-bedroom condo here in Chicago. I love our place. It's got a great view, but it is on the smaller side, and there really just was not realistically any way that I could have isolated in this space from my girlfriend at the time, but there was no way that we could isolate from one another. The point of this is that during that week to 10 days that she was fully feeling these COVID symptoms in December of 2021, and I was right beside her the whole time, doing my best to get cough drops and help in any way that I could. I never caught it. I never had it. And I finally did get it earlier this year. I got it, I want to say February or March, and I finally experienced, kind of what others had gone through. And obviously it does suck. It's milder now. It kind of felt like the flu to me, but I did more of like a body soreness flu as well. Again, this is all my experience, and I'm not saying that definitively cannabis use blocks COVID-19. That there's no way for me to make that claim and have it be valid in any kind of way. However, my anecdotal experience of having been with my then girlfriend, now wife, who had COVID and was fully symptomatic, and I was right by her side. I didn't go to work. I isolated as well because that was what I had to do. But I experienced no symptoms and I didn't get it during that time. It's not like a perfect shield against this virus. However, experiencing that as I did, having that anecdotal experience, this study from CHEST, those physicians, they presented their findings last Wednesday, and they are calling for more study. They say the further investigation into the association between marijuana use and COVID-19, it's warranted because of the significant decrease in mortality and complications. I know that, everyone has had different experiences with this, and this is a polarizing topic. Thankfully, not as much anymore because, now we have other things to inflame our passions, I suppose, and argue about over. And we all had our fill of the pandemic over those, 2.5 years that we were all shuttered at home and the world changed how it did. I certainly don't need to go on any more than I have about this. So again, if you're bothered by the topic, I do apologize for it. But I bring this up because I think it's extremely important. I think this is something that, 1 million people plus now, in this country did die from it. And there's a lot of complications related to things like the pre-existing conditions, obesity, other health issues. There's plenty, and forget about, the vaccine debate too. I mean, there's plenty for people to disagree about with this. But I find it incredibly poignant. I find it very interesting, and I would agree. I also call for further investigation for whatever that's worth. But I also believe that 100% this is worthy of further investigation because of the significant decrease in mortality and the complications that they noticed, these physicians who examine lungs and chests and all that. They saw a disassociation between the worst problems of COVID and cannabis users. And I also, my own personal anecdotal experience confirms that same thing. Anyway, I just thought it was worth bringing up, obviously, because this is the topic of the show. This is the topic that I like to dive into, that I'm interested in. And I think that this major pandemic that just changed the world, a couple of years ago, these doctors, these physicians are calling for more investigation into how cannabis use is related and interacts with the virus. And I think it certainly merits that, given that we're all going to have to live in a world with this thing for the foreseeable future. So I just thought that was cool. Definitely check out the article for yourself. Let me know what you think. Reach out the show at C-Man Podcast on X and Instagram, Facebook as well. And you can go to the website, cannabismanpodcast.com, and click the contact page. Leave me messages. Let me know what you thought about this episode and the show at large. And if you like what I'm doing here, if you enjoy this, don't forget to click that support the show link that I put in the description notes. It'll take you to the Buzzsprout subscriber page. You can become a subscriber. You can get a shout out on the next episode, and any support that anyone feels like giving is very, very much appreciated. And I appreciate you for listening to this episode, and I'll be back again next week with another episode of the Cannabis Man Podcast. Bye-bye. Cannabis Man is 100% originally crafted by myself, Don Kleppen. Original theme music written and composed by Yusu Kim, aka Good Son.